Good evening, and welcome to the Raymond Select Board meeting. Everybody's here but Lonnie. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes of November 14th?
So moved.
Second.
I actually have one change, and it's at the end when I was going on my rant. You know exactly what I was talking about. I mentioned in there that they said at their informational meeting that Wyndham was going to pay for the whole bond. I meant to say that the whole RSU is going to be paying for that bond, so if we could correct that. I don't know if we can correct something like that. Can we do something like that? I said Wyndham by accident, but I meant to say that Wyndham Raymond is going to be paying for that bond.
You can correct the record. Sure. Sure.
Okay. So, yeah. Lonnie's here, so we can go back to that call to order. All right, so other than that, all in favor? Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes of December 12th meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. All right. We're going to go into a public hearing. Do I need a motion to go into it? Nope. Okay. So it's regarding the consideration of application for liquor license renewal for Cafe Sebago. So is anybody here from Cafe Sebago? Nope. Don, what do you?
We have received no concerns, complaints, or issues of any kind. I believe the inspection is in order. Is that correct, Sue?
Yeah.
So it's ready to go, ready for approval.
And I think I saw in here the fire report and stuff. Okay, can I have a motion?
No.
Oh, we need to come out of public.
You
Motion.
have to see if there's any public comment.
Any public comment? He walks me through this. No?
Close public hearing.
Close public hearing? Now?
Now ask for a motion.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Cool. He's like this microphone in my ear. It works really good. All right, let's go to new business. Sebago Lake Rotary Annual Ice Derby.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Ingo Hartig. I live on Oakless Road in Raymond.
Can you speak up a little bit, Ingo?
Okay.
Thanks.
My name is Ingo Hartig, and I live on Oakless Road in Raymond. And I'm here to represent the Sebago Lake Rotary Club, and I'm requesting respectfully to hold another fishing derby. On the dates is February 24th and 25th of this year.
Okay. Think you might have some ice this year.
Okay, I hope so.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Ingo?
No questions. I wanted to let you know the chief has already set up a planning meeting, and so all of the parties to the Derby will be there as they normally are, and that's always a good and productive process, so we'll look forward to that meeting.
Okay.
And so any details or issues that need to be worked out with respect to safety and planning, insofar as it involves the town, will be, and state agencies coordinating together, will be completed at that meeting. So I think we're good to go, and I think we have got a great start on ice. I'm really hopeful about that. Excited about that.
How many years has it been?
16.
That was the last one? Yeah. Wow.
That's when we started.
Yeah.
That's when we started. It wasn't the
Yeah.
last one.
No, but what was the last one? It's been 3 years now, hasn't it? Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? All right, cool.
Thank you very much.
We'll hope for
Thanks, Ingo.
the ice stays out there.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is Loon Echo Land Trust.
Good evening. My name is Sheila Burke. I live at 63 Hancock Road here in Raymond. I'm also the secretary of the board for the Loon Echo Land Trust. Tonight, we have 4 people with us who will be available to answer questions at the end of the presentation. Of course, Tom Perkins, our executive director, will take over in just a minute. We have John Evans, our stewardship manager, the gentleman that spends most of the time on the land, and also John Rand is with us tonight from the Raymond Conservation Commission. I was involved in the Raymond Community Forest Project throughout the acquisition phase, fundraising through closing, trail building, and today as a member of the Loon Loon Echo Board. So we're here to just talk a little bit about our land management practices in response to some concerns that were raised, I think it was in November. So I'd like to turn it over to Tom, who's going to start our presentation. Last thing I'd like to point out, which might be a little different since the last time we were here, is Loon Echo Land Trust has been nationally accredited. We are one of a select few of land trusts in the United States that has received national accreditation from an independent agency.
Good evening. My name is Tom Perkins. I'm the Executive Director of Loon Echo Land Trust. And we understand there's been some concerns. I think we start with the discussion about the snowmobile trail on the Boy Scout property on River Road. Can you, next slide, please? So go ahead, next slide. I'd like to explain a little bit about what a conservation easement is versus a fee-owned property. The Raymond Community Forest is a fee-owned property. Loon Echo owns the land. A conservation easement is something that someone else owns the land, but they want to preserve the land as it is. And so the Boy Scouts came to Loon Echo and said, we would like to conserve this land. We would like to have the parameters be this, that, and the other thing. So they set, in conjunction with Loon Echo, the terms of the conservation easement. Loon Echo is charged with monitoring the easement and making sure that the easement terms are complied with by the landowner, and we're charged with that by the laws of the state of Maine. So it's our responsibility to make sure that the easement is adhered to. The Boy Scouts allowed a snowmobile club, not thinking about the easement. It was because it's an organization, one person didn't know, another person. So the Boy Scouts allowed the Raymond Rattlers Snowmobile Club to construct a snowmobile trail and a bridge on this conserved land, and it was not allowed. You can see that it says no structures of any kind except low impact outdoor recreation and education. One of the things can be Bog Bridge, and high impact outdoor recreation and educational structures are prohibited. Next slide. So this is an example of a bog bridge. This is what a bog bridge looks like. This would be permitted within that conservation area. Go ahead, next slide. And this is what was built. The snowmobile trail was approximately 8 feet wide. This bridge is 8 feet by 30 feet, and it impacted the stream bank as well. I understand, I don't have the exact facts, but I understand this bridge was not there was no permit to build this bridge from anyone. So the wetlands permit probably would have been necessary because they impacted the banks. So next one. Yes?
I guess I kind of want to take this in sections too. Can you go back
Sure.
to the bridge that is allowed?
Sure.
The bog one?
Bog Bridge is a typical small, 2 feet wide, something you can walk across the bog.
Okay, and then the next one is just literally from side to side.
This goes across a stream.
Was there a bridge there originally?
There was no bridge there. There was no trail there.
You are managing for the Boy Scouts, is that correct?
No. We are monitoring for the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts set the parameters. We went in and...
But the Boy Scouts said it's okay to build that bridge.
That's correct.
And
Incorrectly.
you came in and tore it down?
No, we did not.
Without going to the
Nope.
Boy Scouts?
Let me finish, all right? Well, let me continue with my presentation and we'll...
I didn't ask for a presentation.
Well,
I asked you here
I'm explaining
to answer questions.
what we did. So in this, we sent the Boy Scouts a letter and met with the Boy Scouts and said, because of the time of year, this was on October 31st, we met with them, we said, this year we would be happy to allow it, continue for the winter, because we didn't want to disrupt the snowmobiling season for the Raymond Rattlers. However, it needed to be removed by the Boy Scouts or the the Raymond Rattlers before there's a date in there, July 31st. Next slide, please. We also provided them with an alternative stream crossing. This stream crossing here, the design of that stream crossing could have been instituted by the Raymond Rattlers and replaced the wooden bridge with that concept, and that would have been allowed on the property. So the Raymond Rattlers decided, no, we don't want to do that. We'll take the bridge out, and the Boy Scouts are going to let the trail revegetate, and they put the trail back in the original location. It was the Raymond Rattlers that removed the bridge, not Loon Echo.
After they were ordered to do so.
After the conservation easement terms were violated, and we are mandated by the state of Maine to have the bridge not be there.
But the Boy Scouts said it was okay to build that
The Boy
bridge.
Scouts forgot
And it's their property.
The Boy Scouts forgot what the terms of the easement are, and therefore.
I think you went a little overboard. Why didn't you go to the Raymond Rattlers and say, we want to work with you on this bridge?
We did.
Well,
Take it back one slide.
Yeah, he
Take it back one slide,
He said
please.
he said that Rattlers were the ones.
It
that took
said,
down.
After they were told they had to.
no, they said they needed to, depending on the plans for a modified stream crossing, they could replace that bridge with a different kind of stream crossing and still use the trail, even though the trail is suspect to the conservation easement.
So they were given an option, and they chose not to go with that new option.
That's correct.
And they're the ones that, the Rattlers are the ones that took it down.
Rattlers
is what it
removed
is.
the bridge, not Loon Echo.
The alternative that they were given is a very poor way to cross a stream on a snowmobile or anything to that effect.
That bridge, that stream crossing is designed by the National Park Service for crossing streams in an unobtrusive way.
Right.
But in an obtrusive way, but still can it take
Still, it's
and
very
hold
rough.
snowmobiles?
Mhm.
You-
It would
could
hold
it, but
snowmobiles.
you're going down in, you're ruining the banks even more because you're actually on each side of the bank. And then looks like you have telephone pole style trees or whatnot, 5 or 6 of them going
No,
the way
they're
the stream
granite.
goes.
It's granite.
Oh, that's granite? So that'd be even worse on a snowmobile.
Is anybody here from the Rattlers?
All right, a question for you then is, what I'm seeing here is pretty strict guidelines, but it sounds like there's a miscommunication with, with the Boy Scouts, with you guys, with the Rattlers and
The
stuff
Boy
like that.
Scouts signed the easement. They're the ones that set the parameters of the easement. They're the ones that said, we don't want this kind of trail here. They're the ones that said, we do not want any large structures here.
The Boy Scouts did.
The Boy Scouts did. We're the ones that monitor that and found it to be the case. They literally forgot the terms of their own easement.
Well, the other thing too is that bridge that's there is connecting to already a path, correctly? Or so there
trail
wasn't
was-
already a trail there?
There was
Okay.
no trail there. It was just raw woods. And the snowmobile trail got put back to where the original location was.
So what was the purpose of the bridge then? Because to me, it
cross
was
the
my
stream.
understanding they were going to connect the snowmobile trail.
No.
Is what it is.
No, the snowmobile trail went in a different location. They decided they'd like to go off into the woods and go across and come out in the same, just sort of bypass this one section. They did that with a new trail and a new bridge.
As opposed to being on River Road.
Right, and that is not permitted in the conservation easement. We spent a lot of money with our lawyer deciding whether we had to have the bridge, have the Boy Scouts remove the bridge.
Okay.
It's not our call.
Well, now.
It's the state of Maine requiring us to uphold the conservation easement terms.
I think to me it's a lot of lack of communication, I think, with the different groups is what it is.
It's a lack of communication from the Boy Scouts to us, which is required them to, if they're going to do something on the property, they need to talk to us.
But I think it's
So
also
you
from
you never
sorry.
did a survey of the land prior to the acquisition?
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
how come it was never brought up prior to that, when in all the times they came and asked for money, it said, you're going to be able to continue to use things the way that you had been in the past? So either
I'm
you
confused.
buried your head in the sand, or you totally missed it.
No, are we talking about the bridge now, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
the bridge was
We're
there.
talking about the use of
The
the
bridge was
land.
not there.
That when you came before the select board, Loon Echo.
Yeah.
You wanted money from the Raymond Conservation Commission. You wanted approval from the board. And you said that land will be used the same way it's always been used.
This is two different pieces of land.
All right, I was just going to clarify that. One we're talking about the Boy
One is
Scouts
conservation
land.
easement. I'm talking about the conservation easement land and the bridge issue.
Off the River Road.
Off the River Road, which is.
That Raymond gave you money to
No.
purchase.
No.
No, I think we gave
That
them
is
money
owned by
for-
the Boy Scouts, not Loon Echo Land Trust.
But Raymond didn't put any money into that land?
No.
No.
How much?
I think there was a,
Yes, we did.
I
Yes, that's
think
right.
you need
We
to
put-
go back
we
and
put money
read the
in the line.
minutes. And I think, John, you came here and asked for $30,000 from the Raymond Conservation Commission for that land on River Road, and your sister's sitting right there.
that's my cousin.
Oh, cousin,
Oh,
sorry. I apologize.
It was 15.
Okay. So you have an executive director who says Raymond never gave any money. I know we gave money.
I'm not aware of it.
There are different parcels there.
So did
No, it's the same land. It's the Boy Scout land on the other side of the river, plus they own this side of the river. And the River Road people, there's 5 or 6 of you that live down River Road, John Palmer and Paul Thompson and all those who said, yeah, we're gonna allow the same use.
That may well be true.
And then
However,
when
the
you wrote
same,
the easement,
no,
you
the same
changed the
use.
terms.
The same use is the same use. They modified the use.
I think
the
you're.
Boy Scouts modified the use?
I think you're picking
Yes, the
at
Boy Scouts
straws
modified the
here.
use.
All right, but saying that, once again, I go back to lack of communication, because what happens is people that have been using this land, and not abusing it or whatever, there's no communication as to what you can do, what you can't do, and who owns it, and
Maybe I can clarify.
There's a disconnect.
A conservation easement is a legal instrument filed with a conservation easement is a legal instrument filed with the state of Maine. We are not the owners of that property. The Boy Scouts are. We negotiated the terms of that agreement. And the reason these exist is there are tax benefits that accrue to the Boy Scouts being into this legal entity, okay? Loon Echo does not own the land. Our legal responsibility is to enforce the contract, period. We need to file annual monitoring reports with the state of Maine on this piece.
so because they own the land, you guys monitor it, they can't make changes to it to say yes to put that bridge in then?
No, by their own terms, by their own
But you can
terms.
modify this at any time.
No,
No, you can't.
no.
No, you can't.
I'm
And,
sorry, you cannot.
and the other thing is we do not communicate directly with the Boy Scouts on this issue. That are the Raymond Rattlers. That was all through the Boy Scouts and their attorney, not Loon Echo. We met with the Boy Scouts. Yes, we did talk to the Raymond Rattlers. We gave them something that we would consider the granite bridge that's been approved for these types of things. The other thing I want to point out is it's not the prior use. They constructed a new trail and a new bridge after the conservation easement was enforced. If that was there prior to when we did the monitoring before we entered the agreement, we would have had these discussions. That did not exist before this legal document was in place. Our legal obligation is to inform the Boy Scouts, rectify the violation, and/or we need to report it to the state of Maine, and then a whole nother process starts up, okay? So we provided an alternative to them if they wanted to continue. We also negotiated a number of other things to sign the trails more appropriately, the existing trails. Traditional use is not because I've taken my snowmobile onto private land wherever I decided to make a trail. That is not allowed on private property.
Unless you have the landowner's
Unless you have
permission.
landowner's permission, correct.
The landowner gives up certain rights to the land through the conservation easement.
Exactly.
That
So-
just makes no sense to me at all.
This is a tax benefit. There has to
Wow.
They're receiving tax
You're forfeiting your
benefits.
development rights.
They're receiving tax benefits or a financial benefit
But
through
I
this
don't buy
instrument.
that you cannot amend an easement.
Yes, they are anyway. Why?
That's who we deal with. We deal with the Attorney General.
Rolf's got a question.
Isn't the Boy Scouts a tax-exempt organization?
Mm-hmm.
So what's their tax benefit?
Doesn't necessarily matter. We have 20 easements in the budget. Okay. Well,
I mean, you're
But you
saying
just-
there's a tax
you
advantage,
just said
but if
that's
they're
the
not
big
paying
point,
taxes,
yeah.
no advantage.
What we could do is ask the attorney who we discussed all this with for the Boy Scouts to come and answer those
That was
questions. We don't, we're not managing their corporation. What we are managing is the terms and conditions of this legal instrument. And that's a conservation easement. Fee-owned land, which I'm going to talk about next, is the Raymond Community Forest. That's a whole different legal thing.
So I do. I just find this absolutely crazy where they own the land, so they get tax benefits, but there is no tax benefits.
Well,
but
we
they
don't
can-
know
Right, but
what
it's
they're
just.
gaining, what they're gaining.
Okay. So now I guess what this whole point of this conversation was the conversation that we had at our last meeting of, I don't think we had the full information of
No,
who tore the bridge down.
Again, very specifically, Loon Echo Land Trust never touched the bridge. We didn't build it, we didn't take it down. Period. We didn't.
And that bridge is just an add-on, so you can still get from A to B. You just need
The
to go
original
around
trails-
a different
the
direction
original
than
trails are
how
all
they wanted
intact.
to go originally. So
Exactly.
to me, I'm satisfied with
Yeah,
that
all the original
part,
trails
but
are still there.
I just had an issue of hearsay of us not being able to get up to what I call Pinnacle 2, which is the
That's a
land
whole
between.
different,
That's-
we haven't even gotten there.
That's
Exactly.
the second one.
So
yeah.
I'm good with that, and
Yeah.
I understand that, and they wanted to make the trail better for whatever reason they were thinking, so they did something that they probably shouldn't
And
have.
see, another thing that has to be understood, whether it's a conservation easement or a fee-owned land like Raymond Community Forest, is the first year or two of change of management of land, there's going to be education. If somebody bought 50 acres behind you, not even Loon Echo, you're going to have to learn to deal with a new landowner, correct? So we recognize, and this happens wherever Loon Echo goes, is there's a period of adjustment, any land trust. There's a period of adjustment in terms of how things are going to change and how they're going to work, okay? So again, as far as the very basic question, we did not take the bridge down, period. We didn't do it. There were also, we didn't show you the full pictures, there's an abandoned car also right behind that bridge that we had to make sure got taken care of. So again, we're required by law to annually monitor the terms and conditions and report that to the state of Maine.
That's crazy.
So either we work with the Boy Scouts to rectify that violation, or the state of Maine is going to have to come in and deal with it. That's your options. So Loon Echo chooses to, and again, this was a brand new easement. They were learning too. They readily admit, whoops, we forgot.
So what about the
there
other?
was no malice on anybody's part. It's adjusting and learning the new terms and conditions of this piece of property.
So on the other piece that you guys
So
have.
now I'm
There
here
was
to
no
talk
trail.
about,
How did the car get up?
next slide,
Yeah,
next slide.
Dropped out of a
Okay, the
helicopter.
Raymond Community Forest.
Place
We
over
had
there.
a number of issues that came up over this one. Again, on June 21st, we signed the purchase agreement to conserve this land forever. And I want you to keep that in mind. This is not just for the next 5 years or the next 10 years when we can take it down a tree. This is in perpetuity, all right? Next slide, please.
It can't be, actually.
Critical to this fee-owned land is, where did the money come from? And yes, the town of Raymond gave us money, all right? Land from Age's Future gave us $150,000. If you recall, the town did not want to participate in sponsoring this project grant. So we didn't give you the terms, and we didn't give you all this information because you declined to participate in it. But here's the project agreement. And if you look at it, manage for plant and wildlife habitat, forest land management, protect undisturbed wetlands, which we have, protect water quality. This is a huge part of the Crescent Lake watershed. Natural open space, and to provide public access opportunity to Pismire Mountain and the surrounding lands for traditional, non-intensive outdoor recreational purposes. We may establish and maintain a multi-use outdoor recreational trail system wildlife watching, hiking, walking, cross-country, skiing, snowmobiling. This is a big issue here. Hunting, fishing, and trapping subject to state law. And we are allowed a public access entrance on Coneska Road. And we'll talk about that in a minute. We shall not prohibit hunting, fishing, or trapping on the premises except with law. So we're going to make very clear, Loon Echo allows hunting on all of its properties, always has never banned it, has no intention. If we even contemplated that, we'd have to come up with $150,000 to give back to the state of Maine, period.
The Land for Maine's Future makes you allow that.
No, that's a policy of the board of directors?
It's our policy. Every single
If
piece
you
of...
take money from Land for Maine's Future, you have to allow outdoor
That's true.
recreation.
That's absolutely
including
true.
hunting, fishing, and trapping.
That's correct.
That's
Not
in law.
trapping necessarily,
Okay, so
trapping
good.
with landowner permission. Applicable laws in this state, there are certain activities you must get private landowners' permission. Trapping is one of them. Putting up a deer stand is another. That's just the way it is here in Maine. But Loon Echo has other properties that were not purchased with Land for Maine Futures, and we allow hunting on every single acre. Next slide, please. So how have we managed the land? Our land is not posted. Its boundary, however, is marked, and this is the sign you'll see all along the outer boundaries on all 364 acres. So anybody can walk onto our land. All it is that it's a boundary marker. Next slide, please. So what else have we done? You can see the trails that we have built. The lower trail down in this area was all built with volunteers. Next slide, please. The upper trail up to the bluff was built with a $24,500 investment by Loon Echo Land Trust by the Appalachian Mountain Club. We felt it was very important, considering how steep and some of the switchbacks that we had to do up there, that erosion control and safety was paramount, so we brought in the professionals to do that. Next slide, please. Our allowed public access is on Coneska Road. That was a $4,900 investment that Loon Echo has made. What's important to note about this parking lot is it had to be reviewed and approved before we even applied for a permit by Land for Maine's Future and the Bureau of Parks and Lands. They had to approve the siting of that particular lot. So we actually began planning for this in August, and because of the state's review process, the land's review process, and the entire permitting process, including engineering diagrams, all of it, it took us until November to begin building that parking lot.
It looks good.
Yeah.
I use the land often, walking with the dogs and things, and it's great.
Yeah. But again, that lot, again, permitted. We even had to file forms to make sure that we weren't disturbing a historical site. I mean, we had to go through what anybody would have to go through, only we had additional layers of review because of where our funding comes from. So next slide, please. And as Lonnie says, I think we have a really nice parking lot.
So.
Next slide.
Yep.
The other thing we've done out on the Raymond community for us is educational programs. Again, through a private donor, another investment was made, and on the lower trail, we have a series of educational signs that were installed this past year. We're designing and distributing to area libraries, kind of a little game that the kids can put in their nature backpacks, take out on the trail, fill in the blanks, draw the leaves, that kind of thing is going on. We also do guided hikes on both the upper trails and the lower trails. And we have plans for more education. I think a really revealing fact, next slide please, So one of the things that Loon Echo has done is we put electronic trail counters out on the land. We do this in many of our preserves. For 1 year, 4,251 people have used those trails. And again, we take the number and divide it in two. Just to give you it's not, I can't believe it's 100% accurate because we figure you go in and you go out. And we might have a deer or two in there. Okay, but so over 4,200 people have used the marked trails in the Raymond Community Forest in 1 year. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, kind of our little journey tonight is we did not tear down the Tenney River Snowmobile Bridge. We're not going to outlaw hunting or other traditional Maine outdoor uses. We did not post the land. We have requested that neighbors respect our landowner boundaries. That means please don't cut a road, don't cut down our trees, don't build a shed into our property. Where appropriate and where it provides a public need, demand, and benefit, Loon Echo does allow motorized vehicle use on its properties. We do have 2 preserves that allow ATVs. We have 2 preserves that have marked snowmobile trails, and there's snowmobiling right over here on Hackers Hill, for example. That was a pre-existing trail that connected other trail systems. We kept that trail. Public access, public use. Next slide, please. We've protected this land by providing open space for Raymond and this region, and we're making this land available for public benefit, and that is very key. We've improved the protection of the natural resources, including water. We've created and maintained a reserve fund for perpetual stewardship. In other words, part of what we do is we set aside money to make sure that those boundaries will be marked, that we check the land at least yearly, and that the trails are maintained. We have constructed, named, signed, and maintained 3 miles of trails for public use. We constructed the parking lot for access to those trails. Next slide, please. We've created and installed educational interpretive signage. And at the request of the neighborhood's homeowners associations, we have two roads, Loon Echo has restricted parking and access on the private roads and provided public access from Coneska Road only. We've inventoried the resources on the preserve. We have sent to the town, you have in your possession, an 80-page forest management plan that details every single stand of trees, their age, their estimated harvesting, going out for, I don't know, Tom, is like 50 years. Which has also identified rare plant species, bogs, and wetlands on our property. We've identified, and there's the rare plants, and the wetlands, and vernal pools that are on that property. And we've also created what we call a reserve space towards the top of Pismire. John, what do you call the line?
Just above the talus slope.
The talus, just above the talus slope. We've created a reserve within the preserve because the state of Maine has talked quite a bit about the fact that they don't have old growth or young growth trees. We've kind of, in our internal planning, marked that section off for scientific study. So people can come in, and there's some old growth trees up there. Quite honestly, I'm sure they were too expensive to harvest on those slopes, but we've preserved that whole upper area for scientific study. And next slide, please. I want to remind everybody a little bit about what was planned for the lower level that is now preserved. You can see the existing 2 subdivisions and the planned subdivisions. So the areas to the right between, between Hancock and Rosewood, those are all new subdivisions that had been planned out for sale. The only one that got sold and has since been built is this one up here. This area down here has no trails in it. We've had quite a bit of pressure to build trails there. However, at this point, we're still studying this because we believe it is deer wintering habitat. And so we want to give it at least through this winter before we make any decisions down there. This area is extensively hunted. If you see any cars and stuff up in our lot, or hunters walking down Hancock Road with big shotguns on their shoulders, they're usually going right in here. So we're continuing to study that particular area. So I just want to remind you of the lower level, what had been planned for this land compared to what Loon Echo has done. So I want to thank you, and we'll open it up to additional questions.
Do you plan on shutting off any trails to Bismarck Mountain? Meaning from the backside?
Yes. Where we're at, there are two pieces of trails.
Mountain Road.
One up at the top, one down on the bottom. One appears to be some ATV trails. Yes, those are shut off. And the key to that is the only way you can get to them is across private land onto our private land. There's no public access and there's no public benefit. What we cannot allow are just people making their own trails out there. The lower level, there's a little stretch, maybe a half a mile, that appears to be a snowmobile track cut behind private homes. It doesn't appear to go anywhere. That also will be shut down because, again, the only way you can get to it is across landowner private property to our private property. We are willing, we consider snowmobiling low impact, and Loon Echo has always been willing to work with an organized group to discuss a snowmobile trail, to properly mark it, construct it, and maintain it. What we will not allow is a snowmobile just coming in wherever and just going around through the woods. No, we won't allow that. Because again, we're trying to conserve a piece of property forever. So we can't just have unorganized use by whoever would want to do that. But we feel strongly that snowmobiling is pretty low impact, and we're always willing to talk about that.
So you're saying, like, if the Raymond Rattlers came in and said, we want to put a new trail through there.
We would sit down with them in a minute.
Okay.
We would sit down with them in a minute. The issue always becomes is...
Keyword, though, being new trail.
New trail.
On this property, because it's different from...
The keyword is public benefit.
Okay.
Public benefit.
Okay.
So it would have to provide access to anybody, you know.
Yep.
So we'd be looking back at what could we do from the Coneska Road public access?
Okay.
Okay. How could we mark that trail out to make sure it preserves the landscape, i.e. we don't want it running through a vernal pool. You know, we don't want it going in areas where there are rare plants. Mark out a trail, properly construct it. In other words, you know, there'll be rocks that might have to be moved and some brush that might have to be cleared, maybe even a small tree. We're willing to talk about that. And then the other piece is the maintenance of that trail. This all costs money, which right now Loon Echo is doing. You know, so we would be looking for like a club or an organized group of citizens that would work with us on trail maintenance. After our windstorm, there was a lot of activity on those trails to clear them. You know, you can't just mark a trail and walk away, you know, because, you know, we have safety issues and property protection issues. So again, the key word is we are managing private land for public benefit, okay? Not private land for private use.
I'd have to research more to be able to see, because there's trails from Mountain Road all the way up that mountain, 3 or 4 of them that I know that I've been going on for 20 years.
With an ATV?
With an ATV.
Okay. And did you have Hancock Land permission to be doing that? No?
No,
Okay.
I didn't have anybody's permission for anything.
Right.
There was a tote road there, couple different tote roads that no houses have been on for years. Maybe it
Right.
wasn't the right thing to do, but did it for
And
years.
so what we're saying is we recognize it's going to take a couple of years for everybody to kind of get used to the new rules. We grant you that. We've been working with property owners on violations on our land. For example, we have a situation where there's a shed built out there and it's full of wood. So we've told the property, the landowner, spring is fine, because he's going to use the wood all winter. We don't, we're not going to get it down right now, get your wood out of there, but it has to come down.
Right.
So again, whether it's Loon Echo or any other private landowner, there are rules, that need to be respected.
Right, it'd be different if I went up someone's driveway, which there is, I can't remember the gentleman's name, and I've talked to him more than once, but halfway up his driveway, take a right, and that brings you right up to the top. And
Right.
and that's from Raymond Hill
Right.
Road.
So, are we going to put a sign on the road saying this is allowable by anybody? So you get, 100 people a month coming through there? I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think
And
you're.
then there's other spots where you can't see a house,
Right.
no matter what direction. And there's
Right.
a tote road that
Right.
when they
And
did
again-
clearing going up that hill, they just massacred and they left so
Exactly.
much stuff. And it was probably a good 10 years ago that they
Right.
cleared
And
it, maybe
so
even longer. But
we're managing it for long-term conservation, but we're willing to work. I cannot speak for ATVs. That we don't consider low impact. I'm sorry, but snowmobiles we
No, they
consider
aren't.
that
They
low
aren't
impact. That's low impact.
They aren't.
So we would be more than willing to work with somebody to have that discussion. But, and again, this is just a personal aside, everybody I know who has a snowmobile, so what? So we can go in a mile circle? What good is that going to do? Because you can't get to the lake unless you cross 2 private property owners to get out from our property to the lake. Now, if the private property owners want to give away their land to us so that we can build a public access trail, that would be a bit different, but that's just not going to happen. So what we're trying to do is respect everybody's, where you've come from, but work with you as we transition into some new rules. Other questions?
Question? Anybody else? Rolf?
No.
No? Nope. It sounds like to me it's a learning curve. It's a lack of, I don't know, people see things one way and not another
Exactly.
way. And I think it's just a miscommunication or disconnect. is
Well,
what it is.
and the other
not
thing,
on anybody's.
No, and the other thing I'd
Yeah.
like to offer is, we'd like to be more proactively communicative with you. If the process up to this point has been, if there's an issue or problem, somebody gives us a call. And we're more than willing to sit down. We're more than willing to come out and talk to a landowner. We've been doing that since we took over the property. So if you have an issue, if you have a question, all you have to do is pick up the phone or send us an email. I know people are going to see things differently, but we're trying to work it all out. And I'm sure there'll be some more elbows thrown before we're done. As each season comes, there's
What a
going to
way
be
to put
new
it.
issues.
Do you guys have a link on the Raymond page that if somebody does have questions, they can just go on the Town of Raymond's page
No,
to
we
send
do
something
not.
to you?
No, we do not.
Dawn, can we do that? Is
Yeah, we can do
possible?
that. I thought we had information on the conservation page
You-
because we got called on it being incorrect, and I pointed out that we
There
don't,
might
as
have
a town,
been-
maintain your
Yeah.
information. You remember that?
Oh.
So I think there is a link
I just think
somehow.
it-
and-
There used
but
to
I think
be,
and I think this time we did correct it.
yeah, there used to be during the whole fundraising and getting it together and trying to buy the land phase. I don't know if it's still there now.
Great point, Teresa.
But
Well,
we can
that
certainly
way they
do
don't-
that.
And don't know who to call, they can just get on and check.
Right.
Because I'm thinking, okay, if somebody wanted to put a tree stand there, to put it up, go hunting for the day, not take the tree stand home and go back, who did they call?
No.
Can you do that?
What,
That type of thing.
what we do
Yeah.
with tree stands is, hey, give us a call. We take all your information, put your tree stand up, but you got to take it down at the end of the season. You can't leave it up there year round.
Well, right, but And I know there's an entrance at the parking lot that says right there at a kiosk, it says no motorized vehicles. So to me, I'm thinking, oh, you can't take a snowmobile in there, but I don't do snowmobiles either, so.
Well,
Right
from the
now, you
Kineska
cannot.
Road side, it's not even, you
No,
wouldn't go
right-
snowmobiling up that.
No.
It was hunting, so Dawn and I just kind of like left quick. We got out of
No.
there like really quick.
But
But this way, if somebody
currently,
has
there-
questions, they can just
Absolutely, and
email
again,
you.
if you know of any organized snowmobile group that wants to work with us, we're willing to talk.
Okay. Thank you for coming out
Yes,
and
thank you.
talking to us.
Thank you.
All right, let's see, moving on. The abatement requests. Are you going to take them, Dawn? Kurt's not here?
Well, Kurt's not here. I think typically, have you done them? Or do you want me to do them?
Can't see
You can't see them? I think that was the
Here.
issue. I can read them if you
Yeah,
want.
that's right, thank you.
It's pretty bad, I have to remind you too to boost every time.
I'm happy to do it. I think this is
He has
traditionally
the
been a
old
Joe
man app on his
thing.
phone that helps him magnify it and see it. All right. Before you read those,
Yep.
I have a question. So Kurt has looked at these. He has, because I've read down through these, so he has put what he felt it should be dropped to over on the information, and then gone from there. Okay.
He analyzes the requests and then he makes a recommendation to you. You don't have to follow it.
Okay.
But he takes the applications, he interviews the individuals that have the concerns, looks at the evidence, and makes a recommendation.
Okay.
For
cool.
abatements. And supplements are typically things that people don't come in and say, hey, tax me more. They're things that are typically discovered.
Yeah, some of these are just really big drops.
Yeah, so, but he doesn't do that willy-nilly. It's a very deliberate process,
Okay.
Analytical
Cool.
process.
Thank you.
All right. Make a motion to grant an abatement to property 032-012-A to the Crescent Lake Trust, Carroll Woods and Water LLC. The abatement amount is $64,700.
Second.
All in favor?
The second one is property 003-018-A from Michael May. The abatement amount is $144,300.
Second. Lonnie, you did a second. All in favor?
Third property is 010011-D for George Bartlett, Ken Bartlett, William Bartlett, Sloan's Cove Road, and the abatement amount is for $116,100.
Second.
All right, so on this one, property requires planning board approval, private street. So if they put a private street in there, then it'll be reassessed later?
Right.
Okay. So, all in favor?
Make a motion to grant an abatement to property 012-084, Alexander Arnett and Eric Weindorf. The abatement amount is $54,200.
Second. Lonnie? All in favor?
Make a motion to abate property 008-092 to James Carroll and Jody Carroll, 30 Rockwood Acres. The abatement amount is for $30,500.
Second.
All in favor?
That's all of them.
Okay. Cool. All right, next, discuss proposed budget finance ordinance changes. Mr. Marshall.
Also chairman of the Budget Finance Committee. For a year or so now, we have thrown around the idea of changing these ordinances to clean them up a little bit. And you have before you a draft of the ordinance that I'm recommending. This is for information purposes only. This would have to go before the town, I would assume, at the annual meeting. The first change that we're making is eliminating the chairman of the school board as an ex officio member. The reason for that is the Budget Finance Committee no longer reviews the school board, the school budget, so we don't need that particular person as an ex officio member of our committee. The second one is to document the procedure of electing a vice chair at each meeting. We've done that for 4 or 5 years. I'm not sure the other committees do that. I know that your committee does, and I think it's more in line with what the town's standard protocol would be, so we're adding that to the ordinance. The third one, and probably the most controversial, would be to reduce the number of members from 9 to 7. The reason for that is board members are supposed to be fingers of the community. And in this case, where we're not involved with the school, they have their own board, which is represented by 3 members from the town of Raymond. We have no business in the school board, therefore we don't need that additional representation from town members. So the suggestion would be to eliminate that to 7 members. Right now we have 8 with an open seat. I would suggest that if all 8 members want to run again, they would run again until attrition gets that down to the numbers of 7. What in effect that would do is there is now a provision that allows that any motion to carry must have 5 of 9 members. These are voting members, not members present to vote. And this would reduce that to 4 members of 7, meaning that you would need 4 of the voting members to carry a motion. You would still have, that would still avoid the issue of absences, strategic or otherwise. You would need that 4th vote to carry. And the 5th part of this is to realign the language, genderize the language, and bring in some of the languages that appear in other documents in the town for code of conduct and behavioral issues. So that is what we are recommending. My committee has seen this document. We will be discussing this on January 23rd. And then from there, we would let you know that it would go on the docket for town meeting. So, questions?
I guess I just want to say on this whole thing, boards are really having a hard time finding people stepping up to be on these boards. There really is. You know, we're calling everybody and we know just to say, okay, at least, you know, are you thinking about running? You know, I think there's, how many seats are open? I think I just saw on, is it not the planning board, the
Zoning Board of Appeals has several.
You know, so what happens is people just aren't stepping up. You have it with you know, school functions, everything right now is what it is. So
I know that the town realigned their write-in procedures. There is also a provision in this new ordinance to allow the selectmen to appoint until the next election, so which would fill a vacancy if somebody had a real interest in it. So. Okay. Yes, Joe.
I'm not sure I agree with you on the quorum and the voting members thing.
Okay.
You could open a meeting with a quorum, which is what you're saying, that the quorum is 4 members out of 7. Doesn't mean you have to have 4 votes in favor of a resolution.
I understand that.
But that's what you said.
Yes, it is what I said.
But that's not what this says.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
No.
Oh, voting member. Voting members are members.
Voting members.
Not
there will be 7 voting members.
A voting member is a member of the committee.
Right.
We have 5
so you have a quorum.
You can have a quorum
with 4 people.
Right.
So you're saying in order to pass something, you have to have 4 votes?
Correct.
Correct, yes.
The way that's written.
I don't think so. I don't think that's the way this is written.
The intent is to have 4 votes.
The way I read this, it says your quorum is 4 voting members, meaning you have 4 members of the board who can vote.
No, we have 7 members of the committee. And we can clean up that language a little bit, but that's what the intent is.
If that's your intent, you need to make that clearer, because what you're saying is the quorum of 4 voting members. That's all you're saying. the quorum is 4 voting members.
Okay.
It doesn't say that an emotion, it says a motion will pass only on the majority vote of all voting members.
That's exactly the point, all 7 members.
Right.
Yeah,
So we can change, we put that number 7 in there, but that's the intent.
yeah, but I'm not sure that follows the Administrative Procedures Act.
So we can
I think
check
you
on
need
that.
to
And clarify.
clarify that.
Okay, we'll check on that one.
Yeah, look under Title V.
I like that, though.
Yeah.
You
That's-
know, you
it's
can
been
as long as you have a
procedure for the
quorum of
last-
4, but
yeah.
you're gonna have to get all 4 votes in order to pass that. That's
But
sounds
I'm
very
not
fair.
sure that's actually allowed. So,
Okay, we'll check that. But again, we've been holding true to that, and it's still in effect as far as I know this year until this ordinance change.
If you had 7, you
That's
still
why
have
you
4.
wrote it.
yeah.
Long ago.
He's over here patting his own back.
Many years ago, 20-some odd years ago.
Anybody else have any questions for Marshall?
Where it's an ordinance, does it need to go to a public hearing?
Yes,
Public
it
hearing
does, yeah.
before it goes to before it goes to the annual meeting?
Shall the public hearing be at your committee or at
Yes.
mine?
No, ours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we
It'll
can
be-
schedule
yeah.
that
So
one.
once you check the language and whatnot, then we can
Title
have a
V,
public hearing on
the
it,
Administrative
and
Procedures
then
Act.
then it can go to the annual meeting for final vote.
As I mentioned before, we'll vet this at our Budget Finance Committee meeting on the 23rd of this month, and then I'll get it back to you after that.
You want Peter to- Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Peter.
When was the last time the ex officio from the RSU?
Never showed up. We just want to get it out of the thing. And the chairman of the select committee shows up every now and then, so. Okay. All set?
Yeah.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you,
Thank you. Thanks, Marcia.
Good work.
Okay. Draft purchasing policy. Mr. Willard.
Okay, draft purchasing policy, take 2. So we had a discussion about this on November 14th of last year, and so basically to give you the Reader's Digest version, you thought the policy that we had proposed at the staff level was too complicated, too complex, and to get it to 2 pages. We have succeeded in that, and basically what we've tried to do is to codify the existing methods and practices that the town uses now to procure goods and services, provide the town manager and departmental staff with the latitude to facilitate timely and competitive procurement. It does not infringe upon the Board of Selectmen's authority or prerogative to select alternative methods of procurement, so preserves your rights, enhances and promotes procurement transparency, so people can come and get a copy of this policy and understand how we do it. They could always do that, of course, but I think this is a clearer and better policy. Strives to, I guess to the degree possible, minimize bureaucratic complexity, so that the policy is something that the department heads and town manager, can utilize effectively and actively for a town our size. So that's the dilemma. The one we had before, although shorter than some, was quite a bit longer and complex than perhaps it needed to be. So anyhow, we have tried to come up with something that's comprehensive in its view of how we do things, and but is manageable for our town. And so hopefully we've now accomplished that on try 2. So that's the draft purchasing policy.
Any comments, questions? Off? Nope.
No, it's, I mean, it does what we,
Yep.
I mean, it does what we discussed in the last
Right.
meeting, so. I'd move to approve the policy as written.
Oh, second.
All in favor? Good. All right, draft sign policy.
Okay, the sign policy, I think you've also seen before at that November meeting, and there are just some minor concerns about that which we have addressed. And let's see. The policy is to prioritize, of course, town office and public safety department use as the top priority. You wanted to change the wording with respect to political events, and I think Sue accomplished that. And private organization use is something that we're prohibiting. We're not going to open this up for private organizations. However, I think the other issue was you wanted to give the somebody, and the somebody ends up being me, and I think Joe pointed out if you disagreed that you'd let me know, but they give me some latitude to maneuver within this policy and make some decisions for extraordinary special circumstances. And but so town use, public safety use, emergency use are the paramount uses of the new electronic signs.
Any questions?
So that's the electronic sign policy.
Have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, good job on those.
John, both of those need signature.
Yeah, I've given them to Joe.
All right, we're gonna do some signatures quick and pass it down, and then we're gonna do the cemetery ordinance in a minute.
I guess what we're signing, I should tell you that we're getting a lot of positive feedback about the signs and finding them to be quite a useful addition to our inventory of methods to keep the public informed. And Sue has been very creative. I think some folks on the public safety side also. These slides that you see are something that has to be created internally, and then of course they can be saved in a library and updated, but so those are kind of individual things that we make.
The dog license
Yeah.
expired December 31st. That's passed. You might want to change that one.
Well, no, that's up there on purpose.
Oh.
Because you have an extra month. Why it expires on December 31st, Lord only knows.
Okay.
But the state gives a whole nother month before late fees begin.
Didn't know that.
Has anyone run off the road trying to read those signs yet?
I did.
No, Sam, how many times have you done it?
And the other thing on signs,
He's trying to make somebody else look as bad as him.
we're experimenting with the lighting. You know, the lighting is something that you can adjust up and down, and so, you know, there have been, if you've gone by and you got your eyes burned, it was because of a learning curve for us in adjusting that. So we're learning and hopefully doing better with that as time goes on.
And those sunglasses as you're going by the sign.
Yeah, sometimes we've kind of got out of sequence a little bit. So, but people let us know.
All right, Sue, let's go with cemetery.
Yes. I don't recall I don't think I did put the old or the existing cemetery ordinance in your packets. All it is a list of, you can do this, you can't do that, you can do this and this, but you can't do that. And it's not in any particular order. It's difficult to be able to tell someone from the ordinance what you can do with a monument, what you can do with shrubbery, what you can do with whatever at the cemetery. Because you might be going to numbers 1, 17, 24, and 38 to get the information that you need. So this is an attempt to put it in some form of order. The first bit, and what I did is fairly typical. Anything new is underlined. Anything that I want to remove is struck out. On the whole, what's struck out are the old numbering systems. But I also added on the first page some definitions because people get confused with lot and plot. Who's responsible for what on for the cemetery? Different positions, the committee, the sexton, and supervisor. And then from there is where you get into the pretty much everything as it is. There's very little struck out. There are a few, and there are a few that have been words that have been added or just clarified. But if you look under general provisions, you'll see what I mean. To get just general things to do with the cemetery, you'd have to go to 1, 2, 19, 30, 31, 33, and 34. So it's hard to use right now. It hasn't been wholesale looked at for every item. Do we want this? Do we need this? I thought it would be easiest to start with, let's get it organized, and then figure out what it says once it's together. Because for one, we do have a cemetery committee. I think there's 4 members left on it. And that's something I hope in the next year to try and build and get a few more folks involved in the cemetery so that we can really take a look at this and get it in, make sure we aren't missing something.
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
So one person can buy, I know this from another cemetery, can buy one lot, whatever, but they can have so many cremations in there.
Yes.
Can you have a different marker for each one in there?
Different, like tombstone or different?
No, because like, and here's a perfect example, Blanchard Cemetery over in Cumberland. Yeah, there's a headstone for 2 of them that are there, but because there was another little one that was put in that cemetery, they have a grave marker. But they said that they could have a grave marker up to 5, but 1 stone. Does that make sense? Like 1 bigger stone. Can they do that here? Okay.
Yeah, and right now, because none of that's really addressed in the ordinance, it's sort of a free-for-all. And that's the kind of thing that really needs to be ironed down a little bit more. What Dick has told me is, Dick Sanborn, is that you can put up to 12 cremains in a section called a plot, which is the size of 1 casket.
12?
Yeah.
No.
If you're careful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, and what we're suggesting is that people put at least a name marker on top of where they bury that cremain. Because otherwise, in another 10 years, grass is going to grow, stuff's going to happen. Grandma's not going to remember where Grandpa was put.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to do at a burial is dig down into some other burial.
Okay.
So
I didn't see it on here, and I was just looking like you can have 1 grave marker, and then it says 1 monument. So that's why I wasn't sure.
Yeah. So you could have 1 headstone.
Right.
But that's the kind of language that does need to be cleaned up.
Well, because it
Needs
says
to
here
be
only
gone
1
through one at a
individual
time.
marker per grave is allowed in any of the cemeteries. So that's why I thought if you buy 1, that they're all doing cremations.
Well, per grave.
Means how many people you put in there.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
the grave is who's buried.
So it's not at per plot.
Right.
Okay.
And,
All right.
Yeah.
Why do you want to take this approach and not just totally do it right the first time and just do it once?
Because mostly the lack of committee to be able to do this and do it right. It's the town of Raymond's document. I don't want to do it myself.
Yeah.
And I'd rather a committee do it. And right now, we only have half a committee. So I thought if at least...
How many people are on that committee?
I believe there's 4.
And how many are supposed to be on that committee?
7.
So you have a quorum.
Yes, we do have a quorum. This is true. We do have a quorum. That's if they're all around.
I'm the kind of person who, I don't want to do things twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the opportunity. You got to go to town meeting with this anyway.
Do it.
Just do it and
bring it.
Yeah, and then move forward.
Do you want to take care of that?
I can do that.
Cool.
I mean,
No, I get
that's just my opinion. I
It's
think
gonna
you're
have
going to
to-
handle it
It's still going to
twice.
have to have because it's an ordinance, it's still going to have to have a public hearing.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
But you want to have it clean when you go to the public
What's your
hearing.
opinion, Sam?
Well, I agree with you, but that's only...
Yeah.
He likes getting people going up here and then just agrees. No, well, we can do both public hearings on both of these ordinances the same night.
That's what I,
Nope, I'm good. You good with that?
I will do that.
All right, cool. Thank you. Get them busy on that. Thank you.
Good work on it, so.
Okay, fee schedule.
You have a new fee schedule that will incorporate the recently approved fees for Tasseltop Park. So basically, you're seeing the fee schedule that was previously approved plus Tasseltop, is that correct, Sue?
Yes.
So, and of course, Tasseltop is governed by a separate independent
Yeah.
board of directors, and
so we can't sit here and go.
That's
I don't
right.
like that fee, and to change it, you can't do
No.
that.
Well, I'm sitting here going, Raymond residents aren't getting much of a break.
I think that was part of the original agreement when we took it over, how much of a differential we could do.
So 10% is all you can do?
Yeah. That was part of the, when
we took a significant amount of land from Maine Future money there as well. Right. That was the first major project, as I understand it, of the Maine Land for Maine's Future program. First major acquisition.
Yeah, and the only reason it really comes before you folks is that rather than have multiple fee documents in the town office, right, I added the tassel top fees to the fee schedule. So it's a formality. If there's any change to the fee schedule, you have to approve the fee schedule.
And of course, the tassel top park is an enterprise fund, if you will, of the town of Raymond, and governed by a separate independent board of directors. So I asked her the question of, do we even need to incorporate this into our fee schedule? I don't know, but I guess you don't have any ability to affect any changes, but I think it probably makes some level of sense because people associate it closely with the town, and it is an enterprise fund of the town, to have it be part of the town's schedule. So people, for transparency's sake, will know what our public sector fees are.
Are we positive, Ralph, on the
I'm not positive
on the
limit, but I know that we were granted the ability to do a discount for residents, and it wasn't super big, but yeah, that was in exchange for us doing the administration on it.
Right. Well, what happens with that, and this makes some level of sense, because what happens with it is each year they look at it. Sometimes they leave it alone. In the years that I've gone there, you might go 2 or 3 years without anything, and then you'll have a change, but they adjust them in an increment that keeps that distance more or less.
Well, the number's going to be 10% if that's the limit.
Well, I can't say that, but I'm just saying that they have always been order of magnitude that kind of a difference.
Do we know if it's mostly Raymond people that use this thing?
No.
No. What happens is when we go to the meetings, she'll give us this huge thing of where they come from, where the families are, what to have. She's really good with listing it all out and everything.
Yeah, we can get you a copy of the very voluminous annual report if you'd like to see it, but I'm good. But it is. It actually is used.
Copies, please.
It actually is used by heavily by Raymond people, but surprisingly, we draw people from all over, and a lot of people come from the coastal towns. Falmouth and Scarborough and places like that. People come from those towns, South Portland, for the lake experience.
But they also have like rec programs.
And their rec
from
programs.
Other towns that come into
I know Scarborough and Falmouth Rec both come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions as you're looking down through these fees? I still have an issue with the dog in the car one, but I'd rather break their window instead. All right.
So since we don't really have a say, I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation of the Tassel Talk Board.
Do you want to wait on that and get it checked?
No, it's fine.
We can bring it back to you again.
No.
I know how much you like to repeat things.
Second.
Yeah. All right. All in favor?
Did we have a second or did?
Ralph.
Okay, thank you.
Did you make the motion?
No, I seconded
Joe did.
Joe did.
Joe made it, I seconded it. You at a different meeting or what?
Yep.
You're still reading that newspaper article?
4 copies.
Each morning?
Every day. I was nice to him in it. All right, consideration of printing single annual town reports.
Okay, right now, there are 2 printings of town report. One contains the committee reports and the audit. The next one contains the warrant. It's a big expense, literally, for that.
Is that new? Because it used to be all in one book.
Yeah, it's relatively new. I think I found it was in 2000, I want to say 15, though it could have been 13, that it was presented by Louise to split it into 2 books.
I told her to do.
So it's relatively new.
Timing and when the budget and the warrant articles came out, is that what
That
happened?
seemed to be what the sentiments were, that it was, the data's stale by the time you get it.
Because, we had pushed it from March, now we're like the end of April, so.
Yeah. So what I'm proposing is kind of different than that even, than what you used to have. And that's that as soon as the fiscal year is finished, still give the department heads and committee chairs a deadline of probably end of August, like I've been doing, to get their reports to me, and those would be made available online. And that's the only place they'd live, that they wouldn't get physically printed any longer. And then in the spring...
Well, what if somebody...
If somebody wanted it, then we could.
Then
yeah.
you would just print it at town hall?
Yeah, or they could print it. It would be PDF, so they could print it at home if they wanted to.
Right.
But it just, we wouldn't be involved
But if somebody wanted it,
printing
we
and
would
binding.
print it at no cost for them.
We could, yes.
Yeah. No, we will.
Yes.
We can advertise that as well.
Yeah, we very well could. And this fall, I haven't done the book as yet. We've had one person ask for it.
Oh,
You had an idea of the number that we're saving, didn't you, or no?
Yeah, it's roughly $1,200 whenever we go to print. Though it keeps going down each time I print fewer and fewer books because I throw away so many books. And a lot of towns have gone to doing much more online. So while the committee reports, the department head reports, that sort of thing would be online, there would still be in the, there are things by statute that have to be in the town book. And there are some things that the selectmen may want in the town book, like a dedication, for instance, or when we did the Boston Post cane, something historic that you may decide to put in the town book. But other than that, what I'm recommending is the audit and the budget and the warrant.
So what we're doing, in keeping with the sort of the Raymond way, I would say, is the statutorily required, what's absolutely required under law, and then whatever discretionary reports you want to put in. We're not printing this extraneous material that can be otherwise transmitted via electronic means or in print should somebody request it, and we can make it known in the report that that's available. You can probably print that in the report. So, so I think that will be a savings. And
well, I still think you need printed material for the town.
Oh yes, that's statutorily required material.
Right. But I don't know how many copies we print for that, but
yeah. Well, if it was just for the folks at town meeting, it's 60.
You could probably get away with it.
Well, we're going to make, we've cut them down a lot over the years, and we're going to inevitably have a few that are going to be tossed each year. And then you do get to a point where it doesn't make any economic difference. I mean, if you're talking 100 versus, and I'll just make this up, 300, it's probably not a big difference.
Right.
So we...
Well, and the warrant book in particular, people in the summertime do want to see that. The summer folks like to see that because they're paying taxes here.
And the other thing we do with them is I take them to school and I recycle them with the school kids. And I speak to the school kids. I give them out. You know, they think they're getting something really special when they get them.
So you give them out to recycle.
Bring them home with their parents and their parents.
That's yeah, well, they're usually like 2 years old.
Hopefully they put them in recycling.
Well, they're usually like 2 years old, but they like them, and you know, so they don't get totally wasted, is what I'm saying.
All right. So what do you guys want to do?
I'm good with printing as little as possible.
Yeah. And they can print off how much they want of their own, or we can print it off for them. So we're covered there either way.
As long as they know they're not going to get charged for it.
Yeah. And if they know they have a place they can go and get the information that's in the reports, then.
So do we need a motion on that? Joe, make one anyways, please.
Make one anyway.
Yep.
All right. I make a motion to remove Teresa Sadak as chair.
Second.
All in favor?
I'll make a motion to accept the recommendations of the clerk.
Second.
All in favor? What did I say in that article again? You guys are really great to work with. All right, public comment. Right. I'm sorry, who are you again? No.
Brian Walker, Rolfe Road. I just wanted to loop back. Unfortunately, the Budget Finance Committee hasn't had a chance to discuss the ordinance changes, and it's too bad that we weren't able to do that before, so I'm kind of speaking out of turn. But I have a concern with the discussion that came up this evening about the the majority and the unanimity that's needed, it, to me, flies in the face of a democratic principle, which is a majority rules. If you look at the way the board, the select board is set up, page 5 of your policies, it says any action of the board shall require the affirmative vote of a majority of its attending membership of not less than 3 members, unless otherwise provided by law. It's possible right now at the Budget Finance Committee that we can have enough members to hit quorum, but in order to pass something, we would have to be unanimous. And unfortunately, the Budget Finance Committee at times suffers from inattendance. It just seems, and I would be interested, Rolf, in hearing a little bit more about what your concept was behind it initially, but it does seem to kind of fly in the face that when the Budget Finance Committee, which is a little different than the Select Board, there's one time when we vote on every one of the ordinances that relate to the Budget Finance Committee. If for any reason we don't have a full house, then the people who wish to vote for something are up against a very large hill, because in order to hit the numbers, it has to be much more than just a majority, a simple majority. I would urge also that we either make the change to the proposed ordinances so that it aligns with what the Select Board is doing, because to have 2 different voting processes, unless someone can explain that one to me, makes no sense to me. That the Budget Finance Committee and the rules that they apply to themselves are different than what the Select Board does. Or, on the other hand, is for the Select Board to move to the same model that's being used by the proposed ordinance changes.
So you want me to agree with these guys all the time? No. Well, I think that's what you guys are going to discuss.
Yeah, that's
at your meetings.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you guys aren't going to be there, so for me to make my perspective known to you, I didn't do it tonight, which I feel bad about.
But Sue is going to look up.
And we're going to check into that.
That's a whole other, and that's another question as to whether it's even legal.
Right.
So, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Good evening. Grace Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. I have a couple of topics to make some comments about. First of all, I did catch at the end, just after the November meeting, I spoke with the town manager and the road commissioner about this issue, and I appreciated that they stood out in the cold with me for a while I spoke with them, but I wanted to be sure that the Select Board heard about it as well. It just so happened that I think it was that morning or the morning before, was the first time that the roads were pretty treacherous. And I know I live in Maine. I certainly know by now it's wintertime. But for a couple of years now, it's been very distinct how the road is treated on the Raymond side of Egypt Road. And once you get to the gray line, you don't need the town sign to tell you you're now in gray, because it's down to pavement almost all the time. So I'm asking that as you look at budgets, as you look at contracts, whatever it takes, that you look at doing some improvements on the road treatments in Raymond. I suspect it's the same as you entering other towns from other sides of Raymond. That just happens to be the way I travel. It is very noticeable. So it just so happened that a car had gone off the road that morning, and that's what sort of reminded me, yeah, I really should bring this to the attention of the selectmen and see if that can be improved upon. I know it's got a cost to it, I imagine, but I'm sure that the person whose car was off in the side of the road and into a tree from that morning wouldn't really care what the cost is at that point in time. And maybe they were going too fast, who knows? But it is so distinct. I've thought about stopping to take a picture and show you, but that would be very unsafe to do also, so I have not done that. So perhaps the next time there's some early morning travel that you have going that way and the roads are snow-covered, icy, whatever, please do take a look, because it's quite different how the roads are treated. And I think we can do better, and I hope we can going forward. And again, I appreciated that Mr. Willard stood outside and listened to me talk about that, but I hope that all of you will look at that. The other topic goes back to the October meeting that I caught on TV, and it was when the 3 members from Raymond for the RSU board were here. And I also hope that going forward that all of the selectmen can can treat anyone who's coming and speaking much more respectfully than those folks were treated that night. I took great issue with really what was rude behavior on the part of some of the select board in speaking to these folks. I appreciate people that serve on boards. You mentioned again this evening that you have trouble filling those boards. The very least we can do is be respectful when they come and take time to speak on issues. And I, as a member of Raymond Public, I was embarrassed for us. And I have spoken to one of those people since to say as much. I think that they deserve better. I know serving on boards can often be a very thankless job, yours included. So again, I would expect that everyone behaves respectfully. And the only other comment on that was, it was also said that evening, was talking about a decision. It was about the bus garage in Wyndham and all of that. You probably recall it. But my understanding of a board, and I've served on a number of different boards and committees, is you take the input from your constituents, in this case Raymond, and you bring those concerns to that board. But then as a board member, I am to vote on an issue in the best interests of the organization that that board serves, in this case the RSU. And so even though our 3 members from Raymond are representing Raymond constituents and need to look out for Raymond's interests, when they vote on a board, I hope that they are looking at the interests of the students of the RSU, and that is how they base their decision after getting information. So it seemed that some folks here felt that they should always vote whatever way Raymond folks would want them to vote. But I think their obligation is to the organization at that point. And so I just wanted to make that point publicly. And we'd be concerned about student safety also as far as the school buses are concerned. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, selectman comment. Any comments? Any comment? Comment? Nope. Okay, moving on.
Is Joe okay?
Yep. Town manager's report.
Okay, the first thing is to confirm the dates for the upcoming regular meetings. We have February 13th and March 13th.
We moved that one. Yep. You guys.
We moved it to March 12th.
Well, I'm just reading what I have here, so.
Yeah, that's right.
You guys
did to Monday.
March 12th instead of March 13th?
But that was
March
for the
12th is
budget.
a budget workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
down below, okay.
I'm getting to that.
So we have 2
That's
then,
coming.
okay.
This is the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah. This is just the next 2 dates of the second Tuesday of the month.
Yeah, if you don't like that, we can play with that. I don't think we've discussed that yet, have we? No.
Are you guys good on the 12th and the 13th?
Yep.
If we're good on it, let's keep it.
Okay, so reminder of the budget schedule.
What are we talking?
The 12th is the department head review for the budget schedule, and the 13th is actually our meeting.
I'm not here for
Do-
that. So.
Yeah. You're not there?
You might want,
Wait a minute.
I mean, you might want to, I mean, I don't know if what your schedules are like, but instead of having consecutive nights, you might want to push the selectmen meeting a week.
When are you going, Joe?
Oh,
The 13th and the 21st.
yeah.
So that'll make no difference for Joe.
Unless you go get the 27th.
Well, we could do that too.
Just do the what, the 22nd or 27th?
That would be the next 2.
Do you guys want to, Joe's not going to be here for that meeting?
We already have a budget meeting on the 27th.
March 27th.
March
Joe's not gonna be
27th.
here?
we're
Is
talking
there
about.
one on March?
No, we have one on March 24th.
What? On a Saturday?
That's what's down here, but March 24th,
No,
budget
March.
workshop.
That's March 27th.
What does that say?
Now we got
It
24.
says the 24th, but that is incorrect. It's the 27th.
It can't be a Saturday. No.
Right.
Well,
Right,
change your
we have an
24th
incorrect
to
date here.
27th.
I must
So,
have had the wrong.
Right, yeah, we've got it, 27th is the budget workshop. It's already in my
The
schedule.
12th and the 27th are budget.
Yep.
Can we move it to the 6th?
March?
March 6th?
I won't be here. That's fine.
You're not here?
Nope, I'm out the 2nd through the 9th.
Okay, well,
March is gonna be tough. What about like on another night?
we can do 2 nights in a row, the 26th and 27th.
Instead of the 13th? What do you
Well,
guys,
I mean, it's up to you.
what do you guys want for like the 26th and 27th? Can you do that?
I'm the only one
It's
that's
all in the
missing
same
on it.
week.
Yeah.
Which
Rolf?
one is Joe gonna be missing?
If you have one on March 13th, I'm not here.
That'll be a quick meeting.
The other thing you could do too would be, you're gonna be meeting on the
I'm not
budget.
sitting between you guys anymore.
You could,
You could have a meeting before the budget meeting.
Yes, you could.
If you need it.
Right.
if you need it.
If you even need a meeting, correct.
Really, Brian?
It's springtime, you don't need jackets anymore.
All right, so.
Do you wanna do that?
What, the 26th, 27th?
What Joe just suggested, and I'm a little confused now on the date, but I think we're talking about
March
the
12th.
March 12th, to have a meeting beforehand if necessary.
You have a budget presentation at 6:30.
Right.
If you need a selectmen meeting, you hold it at like 5:30. And I know you, Teresa, you can get it done in an hour.
Women power.
Yeah, I read it, I think I'm gonna read about that numerous times.
So you're gonna send out an email on all these changes here? Good.
Yeah.
Does that work?
All right, so we're not doing the 26th, we're doing the 27th, and we're doing the 12th before that.
Those are budgets, but if you need a selectmen meeting, you hold it on the 12th.
I know, but we have one on March 13th, and we're not gonna do that.
You can, I mean, I'm not here, so
Right.
whatever you do is up to you.
When you, oh, never mind, I wrote it down, never mind. All right,
So are we set now?
Yeah.
Okay, the only thing we didn't talk about was the budget is gonna be sent out on the 13th, February 13th. All right?
That's at a selectmen's meeting.
Yeah.
Right, but that date is the date that we're shipping it, is that the correct date?
So what did we decide?
Yeah, you've done it right.
What is that? March?
The budget from the town manager to the select board, so the budget,
That's January 9th.
he's leaving,
No.
he's leaving the
No,
13th.
the
question is whether
Right.
what we're gonna do, here's what we're gonna do.
He's gone
We're gonna get all these
We're not
dates,
gonna-
I'm wondering if I had the wrong budget schedule.
we're going to get all the dates straightened out and email them out and post them tomorrow.
All right.
That's what we're gonna do.
Good.
We'll do it the 12th.
Based on the input you gave us tonight, we have some incorrect dates here.
Good.
Okay?
Yep.
And if we have any clarification needed, we'll call Teresa. Get it straightened out,
Dang right, let me tell you.
all right?
And could I make sure that I captured March 12th correctly? That it would be at 5:30 before the budget meeting if needed?
If needed.
Because we can get it done in an hour.
3 minutes?
Yeah. Stop, he beat me on that one. I think it was a minute.
It was a minute.
Okay.
A good chairperson could get it done.
Oh, holiday schedule, Monday, January
Wait till the
15th
security turns off, I'm so
is
bad.
Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Okay.
Okay?
Next week. Next Monday.
Yeah, next
Yeah.
Monday, right. Monday, January 15th, isn't that what I said?
Turn on your
Right.
thingy so you can read the treasurer
Yeah.
report. All right. Wait a minute, Don, any more updates for you? Because I think we're just like.
Well,
Get over it.
I was very, very pleased with the fact that we got our insurance claim finally resolved with the town office. And so that was a good outcome, and we'll be starting work on repairing the town office tomorrow. So let a contract for that. And I think
Ready?
Nathan will be replying, but I think Nathan is hoping to use a significant amount of the proceeds to do some work on the town office. So we'll be in touch about that.
Oh.
And I think we had a pretty good outcome with the Patricia Avenue easement with CMP too. So there's some additional cash that went into the fund balance, and so I'm happy about that. And so things are going our way, I think, financially, wouldn't you say? You haven't said anything all night, so wouldn't you say?
Don't jinx it.
Those abatements seem kind of stiff. Was that value or was that?
That was value.
That's value.
That was value.
Yeah,
That's
it was
value.
only about.
That's what I said. I said a lot of them
Total
were dropping.
tax hit was
It's
Yeah, no,
5,000.
no, those are,
I said the same thing. Wow,
No,
some
I
of these
think
were
we did
dropping.
fine.
yeah,
Good.
yeah. So, no, I'm really happy with how things are going, and the progress they're making. And
Treasurer's warrant, okay?
It's gonna cancel it.
we also have
the numbers, isn't it?
yeah, we also have and I don't know how this is going to work out, but we have the insurance claim.
He can pass it down.
Plus we have the disaster declaration
Yeah, we'll read it out loud for
and
you.
the FEMA claim too.
A little younger
So there's going
eyes
to have to
down
be a
here.
reconciliation between those two. But to the degree that we're able to submit a FEMA claim, we're doing that as well.
Cool.
Okay, treasurer's
We
warrant.
lost all these guys down here.
I'll make a motion for the treasurer's warrant in the amount of $59,371.90.
Second, are you sure that's the number?
I'm positive.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
Want me to
yeah.
take a picture and send it to you?
No, sir.
Do you want to borrow my glasses, Joe?
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Okay.
Make a motion
Yes.
to adjourn?
Moved.
Moved.
Second.
And we're out.